Welcome everyone to the third Thursday meetup of the West Orlando WordPress Meetup Group. I'm Rob Watson, a co-organizer and host. West Orlando WordPress is an official WordPress meetup group affiliated with the WordPress Orlando and WordCamp US meetup groups. This presentation, entitled Above the Fold, Keeping Visitors on Your WordPress Site, will take a look at what should and shouldn't be visible when your homepage loads to help capture and keep visitors on your site. We'll look at everything from the logo and menu to building a good hero to the main content, then see what makes people click away. There will be examples of search engine and accessibility-friendly page structure that achieves on-page SEO and look into what gets ignored or worse. And we'll take a quick look at page speed and see how to avoid common mistakes that can slow your site down. Dr. Sue Polinsky, who is a longtime attendee of and knowledge contributor to West Orlando WordPress, founded the first woman-owned full-service technology firm in the Triad in 1998. Sue grew the company until semi-retiring in 2021 when she opened GetMeOnline.today to grow her clients' online reach and help them start podcasting, vlogging, and publishing eBooks. She was the driving force behind the Extreme Nonprofit Makeover that gifted a free technology makeover to a local nonprofit each year for 16 years. Sue founded ConvergeSouth, a BloggerCon she chaired for 10 years. In addition to being recognized nationally as one of the original internet strategists and WordPress experts in the area, Sue is a community advocate dedicated to improving the city where she lives. She is the mother of 2 perfect children and a daughter-in-law, a doting grandmother of 3, and lives in Greensboro with her husband David, an attorney, and their rescued Bichon, Mumfie, whose only skill is looking pretty. At this point, I'd like to invite everyone to mute their microphones and enjoy the presentation. Thank you for being our presenter, Sue. The time is now yours.
Thank you. And Mumfie has no skills. He is pretty. That's all he does. We're going to talk about what goes on a website above the fold. It's a little bit less technical and a lot more strategic. So it doesn't matter what you sell or what you provide. If you only have like seconds to get somebody to stay on your site and buy your thing or register or join or do whatever you want. I've worked with a lot of nonprofits. I love my nonprofits. I'm a serial volunteer. They're great. Ask them what they do, and they can't tell you. They give you their mission statement. They give you all kinds of information. But that's what you're looking for. What is it that you do? So let me share my screen and let's take a look at what goes above the fold to get people to stay on your site and buy your services. So what goes up there? And I'd like to recognize, first of all, Peter Ingersoll, who's here. I'm using something Peter gave me. He is extremely good. It's a WordPress post. It's just a post, and my presentation uses his tools. If you want one, talk to Peter. He can get you one. Okay, who am I? Rob read a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not going to go over it again. I am a serial volunteer, and I am somewhat retired from building websites, but I'm now working with WordPress consulting and influencers. I've been married 52 years, and don't tell me you weren't born that year. Don't tell me that. That will bother me. But that's what I am, who I am. My husband's ex-Air Force. He's an attorney, and that's what we do. So let's talk about screen real estate. On any website, it doesn't matter. The real estate you want, you've heard of location, location, location. You've got to get stuff at the top of your screen that people see, that loads fast, and that whether they're on a phone or they're on, and old people use iPads. Do not neglect the iPads. Or if they're on a fancy monitor like I'm looking at here, you've got to get good stuff above the fold. So when I talk about screen real estate, this is just a typical website. You've got something up here, and you've got a menu and maybe a search box, and you've got stuff down here. All that stuff down here we're in a kind of geeky family, and I use geek as a compliment. My daughter's an SEO expert. And I paid her tuition. So whenever I have a site, I just give her an admin login and say, get me SEO. But what she tells me all the time is that you've got to have something people want to do here. And if you start putting in fancy pictures and moving things and video, they're clicking away. Nobody clicks, rarely does anybody click anything in a big picture. If it's moving, forget it. So let's go take a look at how do you tell what's on your screen. So you go to a website like BrowserStack. They have a very good site. It's free. You have to log in, but it's free. And you can pick any device you want. These are some examples of it. And you can go and I don't know if I have this open. Yeah, and you can basically put in your website and you can see it on whatever device you want. You should look at it. And the reason it's an iPhone 10, and I've got a 13 and it's old, is that you're not building for the newest, best piece of equipment out there. You're building for regular people. The newest iPhone, the lower model, just went on sale for like $150 more than it used to be last year. People are not buying new phones unless they really trash them. The regular people. Now, that's BrowserStack. It's a good one. You should do it. But there's other ways to find out. If you use Chrome, this is very cool. I can go to the West Orlando site, press F12 on my computer, which is inspect. And over here in this corner, there's a little button. And when I click it, it shows me what it looks like on a phone. If you didn't know that, it's a very cool little handy thing. And you can see what's on that site. And basically, this site, which I'm sure is not the only thing Rob has to do, it gives you, this is what it is, here's when it is, and you can do something. And it's all above the fold. And he's even got this really cool menu right here that you can use. So this is a very handy thing, is to just go to Chrome, go ahead and try it. Open Chrome in your browser, go to your own website, hit that little button, see what it looks like on a phone, because we don't always look. Then the other tool that I've been using for 100 years is how big is my browser? So you go to howbigismybrowser.com and it tells you how big your browser is. And you get this cute little button here where you can resize your browser and see what on the next page. I'm just going to do my site. You can see what it looks like at 1300. You can look at it at 842 is where I think I start to break sites into mobile. And you can see my important stuff. Now, my new site is still sitting on my dev server. I will eventually get to it. But so we can find out by opening this in another tab. It's free. And go ahead and play with your website. You should know what your site looks like. You should know what it looks like in every kind of device. And I know Eric's here, and Eric is an expert in WooCommerce. Those sites are critical to make sure what you're selling is above the fold. And I'm sure Eric can add something to that in a little bit. So now we have to talk about psychology and how do people look at websites. People used to read websites as the letter F or E. They read down and across, that's the navigation. Here was the main thing you were saying, and then they'd glance at the rest of it. Now, my SEO daughter says, Mom, the only thing I care about is two. One's okay, two's critical. After that, everything underneath that is for SEO. I don't care if they read it. Now, depending on what you're selling, depending on what you're doing, these are all, depending on your site. But she said, that's the critical stuff. Now that we have devices and we have more tools and animations and video and all kinds of things, people are now reading websites like the letter Z. Now, if you go to, let's just pick this one again. They're reading across. That's where I am. Here's my logo. And then they're looking down here. Here's what a thing is I have to do. That's what they're looking for. So your website should look like, here's my menu, my top stuff, and everything between 2 and 3 is the critical stuff. So you better have something here they want to look at, something for them to do, and then they're going to start looking down the site. In the olden days, I used to yell at my computer if I could not find a contact thing in the menu. I just used to yell at it. And now, people don't really want you to contact them, but it's always in the footer. So I've become this person where I'm starting to look for what is the thing I want. I don't just go to websites. I don't doom scroll. I don't just I haven't got time for it. And it upsets me because the news is awful. So I just sort of looking down, where is that thing I want? So don't waste your hero space. It's wasted space to put a big picture up there if there's nothing to do. Unless there's a call to action, a CTA, unless there's one of those, don't tell me. I'm not looking at your site. I'm bored. I'm not scrolling down to look for more. You should tell me what I want at the top. Second, it has been proven, focus groups and more, people ignore huge images and they ignore things that move. They think they're ads and they scroll away or click away. So I know we've had clients that have demanded their video as the background at the top. God, the word just jumped right out of my head, but it's that you can do a slow moving animation because video, especially if you're serving it off the server your site is hosted on, is not friendly to phones, limited devices. Not everybody has gigabit connections. And if, depending on who you're selling to, what you're trying to get them to do, volunteer for, or whatever, you really got to keep that top clean and neat. Let me show you one. Just happen to have one. This is the new Woo site. Woo is rebranded. They've got this cute little, almost looks like a shopping cart W. And they've got picture what they do. They told me what they do, and they gave me a button. Now, this is a graphic of their site. You can go to, which I found at this site called The Gallery. And there are lots of sites like this. This one's fairly new and fairly trusted. Well, it's got a good reputation. And I just took a look, and here's Mr. Woo. And if you want to get artistic, well, then don't make a square picture, but give me something to do right here. Give me that call to action. Some sites, it depends on what you're selling. Minimalism is good. Being minimal, I don't know how you feel, but maybe I just represent the generation that wears reading glasses. I'm not thrilled with white on black with dark mode. Now, I think it appeals to people who are not like me, and it depends who your audience is. So the Near Foundation, which went with this kind of black and white, I don't know exactly what they do here. It's a very stunning, eye-catching thing, but there really is nothing for me to do. It's charming. if I'm going there because I know who they are and I'm looking for something, that's just peachy keen. That's fine. But if you look at some of these other ones that have animation, well, not animation, illustration, sorry, wrong word. I don't know who this is, but I think she's an artist. Inga Israel, I don't know. But this appeals to people who like her audience, which is not me. But when I look at something like this is of course not in English, but this tells me something. It tells me something and doesn't let me do anything, and probably breaks every rule of accessibility across the top. But when I go to something like Inspired by the Wild, nice picture, but two things to do. Two things to do is better than one thing to do. And it must be some kind of alcohol that they sell. I don't know. So Gabby over here, I think this is like a site about me. I'm Gabby. Here, meet me, hire me to do something. I'll help you manifest a life beyond your wildest dreams. She might be a nonprofit. That's what I used to get from nonprofits. Doesn't tell me, what do you do? So anyway, there's lots of these. You can get it at wp.gallery. And somebody put a question about photography, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So we have don't waste space. Videos use a lot of bandwidth. Bottom line, big pictures just don't sell. If that's the only thing there, video doesn't sell. So now let's see what's next. What should you put in your hero area? You should, and I know you've probably heard this before, but I'm going to say it again because according to my daughter, this is very important. Use your headings correctly. H1s, H2s, H3. On most WordPress pages, the page title you put in is the H1 tag. There's some discussion about you should only use one H1 on a page. There are some people who think that it's possible to use two, but that's like arguing among SEO people. So if H1 is the page title, the very first thing on your site that's copy should be an H2. After you use an H2, put in some copy, put in some content, and then you can use some H3s or H4s. But you don't have to use H3s and H4s. You can go from an H2 to an H2. What you can't do is go from what you shouldn't do. I have to stop. I have to be careful of that. You should not use an H2 and then an H5. In fact, there's very little reason to use H5s and 6s at all. But 1, 2s, 3s, and some 4s are the most important. So when you put your page together, heading to, now here's the trick. When you set up your site and you declare your fonts, your H2s are bigger, your H3s get a little smaller, and H4s and whatever. There's no rule about that. You don't have to do that. You can put an H2 at the top and make it small, put an H3 under it and make it bigger. Google does not care. They only are looking for the H2 tag. So if you've got this in order, H2, H3, you can go back to H2, 3, 3, 3, 2, you can do that. What makes a good hero space? What do you put with those H2s and H3s in your picture at the top of the page? Tell them who you are, tell them what you do, and tell them how they can buy it. If you can't say, we do this, then you don't need a website. If you don't add your mission statement and don't put stuff, 43 years of experience doing this wonderful, put it on the about page, nobody cares, and tell visitors you are a firm, an individual who does this thing and makes this product and why they want it. That's got to be something, got to be there, because those are your keywords. If you are selling widgets, which used to be a good word till WordPress came along, but if you're selling widgets, you tell them, we make the best widgets and you can use them to do this thing. and they know what you want, what you do. What do you do? Who you are, what do you do? Accurate messages. Do not buy stock photos, please, to show happy smiling people that are like meeting in an office. Please don't do that. Get either real photography, use illustrations. I think real photography is a wonderful thing. Yes, you can go to DALL-E or ChatGPT or some of the free places and get some graphics. When you look at anybody who's showing you websites, starter sites like Cadence does, or anybody who says, here are your, comes with your theme, you bought this, here are some designs. When you look at those designs, they use the best photography you've ever seen. It's fabulous photography. And that makes you think your site's going to look just that good. Not if you don't have that kind of photography. So let's stop buying namby-pamby pictures of happy smiling people at an office meeting, and make the clients, the people in your photos, look like your people. I'm working with a gal who owns a salon in town, and she deals primarily with African American hairstyles. That's her thing. There was no reason for her to put a bunch of people on her website that don't use or wear those hairstyles. And we went looking for stock photography. It is very hard to find pictures of people who aren't happy white people. It's just hard to find. It was much easier to get a photographer. And we had real people without their faces turned to the side or from the top and all that stuff. And they sign modeling releases because that's me. So make sure you tell them what you do and make your pictures look like what you do. In the very top hero area, that's your branding, that's your identity. Then we go to, how can they buy it? My dog groomer retired. I need a new dog groomer. I went search. I was the dog groomers near me. And I'm going to these dog groomer sites that are some of the worst sites I've ever seen. And I'm trying to find out, how much do you charge? How do I make an appointment? When do you have appointments in the future? Can I get monthly? And I can't find it. All I can find is all about them holding one dog after another. I had to actually call friends. Who do you use to groom your dog? And I finally, could get one. But a dog groomer, that's big money. I mean, they're down here anyway. They're almost $100 a session. So come on. And I got a Bichon. He's white, dirty all the time. So what do you sell? The homepage should have the categories of what you sell above the fold. They should be able to see it when the homepage first loads. And then if you sell a service, give them an opportunity to book a call, schedule a meeting, do a something, but I'll show you a better way to do that in just a sec. And the other thing is, make it easy for people to buy. I was saying before we started that we have an election in North Carolina due to COVID. We have in November. City council, mayor, all over the state, that because they changed the dates because of the pandemic. I'm doing a lot of candidate sites, and they are like, should we really just put the donation button at the bottom so that they don't think we just want their money? I'm like, what you really want is their money. Put it at the top, put it halfway down, and put it at the bottom. Because that's what you want. Make it easy for them. If they're coming to your site, they're really not trying to see the picture of you and your kids. They really are either want to, they want to give you money, or they hate you or something. I don't know. But make it easy for them to give you money. So, do I have an example of a site that does all this? Yes, I do. This site, full disclosure, this is my daughter's website. I did not build it. I just hosted it and gave her the tools and said, here, she knows what she's doing. These 3 red arrows, that's her H2. Now, we've had the discussion. She's changing the color because I think it's too hard to read. But that's her H2. That's her H3. And you can make them smaller. And what loads above the fold are the three things she does. She's not selling you SEO. She's selling you a site audit because, and this is the cool part. Let me show you how this works. I'm not going to take you through it. Oh, I can't really log in. I should not log in tonight. Okay, so she did change the colors. We'll have to have a discussion. I'm not happy about the blue. But anyway, the thing she's got going here is this free site audit. This engages the customer. It doesn't cost them anything. It doesn't give an obligation. And you go through this form. It's very friendly. And she collects your information. And when she's done with the form, then she's got what you want. And as she said, these are her keywords. And schedule a meeting is all over the place. This is her one testimonial on the homepage. She says, Mom, I don't care if anybody reads any of this. It's all here. It doesn't link, it links, and it's all on her website. But she says, I really don't care. But if they want to schedule, they can schedule. And the whole point is Bird was her dog. He was a bird. That was Bird. We loved Bird. She has her little things up here, but this is what catches people. This is what they're looking for. This changes every so often. And those are her keywords. So when you're trying to sell something, she went from yellow to blue. I'll have to speak to her. But she doesn't have pictures. She's using illustrations because, SEO is SEO. She doesn't need people on her site. So she's very good at what she does. But the thing that I did is I stole this design to rebuild my website because it works for me. So it's birddogseo.com. If anybody wants to steal the design, feel free. Should be thrilled. So make sure the three things you do, don't make 5 or 6 things that you do. 2 or 3 things you do if you're selling a service, and give them something to do. Okay, let us go down the page with Peter's wonderful design here. So what makes a good call to action above the fold? You've got to give them a button to click, at least one. And I copied this. I forgot to cite it. I should. A good call to action. It's clear, concise, action-oriented. You want them to do something. It conveys a clear value proposition. I never would have used that word. I copied this from somebody. It prompts people to take an action. It uses persuasive language. If you remember that SEO audit, hi, good to see you. What's your name? It doesn't just say, put your name here, required. So be friendly. Create some urgency. Not like, only 3 days left or something. It should be easy to see. Putting the hero with white space around it, empty space around it. It should stand out visually. Don't junk up your hero with all kinds of words. A few words. Get your message in a few words. And it should align with your overall website aesthetic. So if you're using a minimalistic design, the rest of your page should be minimalistic. Lots of empty space, big headlines, small paragraphs. Now, what's your job? Create urgency. Use contrasting colors. We'll all email my daughter before we're done. Make it clearly visible. Keep it short. Use action words. Match the call to action to the device people are using. Look at it on a phone. And know your audience and test your buttons. Sometimes that's the last button that we actually link is the one up in the hero. Now, what should your CTA do? People should feel urgent. They should do something. Use first-person speech. I want. You should. None of this loved by many. That's passive tense. Don't do it. People love. And there's a picture of somebody loving something. Find what people should find, what they're looking, what they expect to find. If I go to the Coca-Cola site, I know what I'm going to find. I'm going to find Coca-Cola. If I go to your site, I should know what I'm going to find. And then add it to their cart or get your contact form should be clearly visible. If they're buying something, buy now. If they're trying to schedule an appointment, get in touch with you, ask a question, they should be easy to find. Now, that means what should go on your homepage? Well, it's pretty simple. Clear, easy to navigate. We're going to talk about visual hierarchy in a moment. If you have a glass of wine, this is the time to drink it. You should have compelling content, a strong call to action, high quality images, a responsive design, and a consistent brand aesthetic. So you pick your colors, you use them. Your logo, your branding, your menu, your hero image, we'll talk about that. Your calls to action. Make sure your content is relevant. There's nothing here you don't know. Social proof, get your social stuff there. It should be responsive. I have come across, like I said, old people use iPads. I sit in front of a computer almost all day long. I do not want to sit in front of one at night. If I want something, I'm going to use my iPad. And you would be surprised how many sites do not play well with my iPad. And I click right off them and go to the next one on the search results. It should be responsive. Get some testimonials, whether you call them endorsements, testimonials, whatever. There is, at ConvergeSouth, this BloggerCon we ran, we had a speaker come in one year, and I couldn't believe that the group chose him. He was a used car salesman. He was not just a used car salesman. He was an extremely successful used car salesman in a company that his father started and he took over. He was local. He was like 20 miles from here. His shtick was on his TV commercials. He wore an Uncle Sam top hat, red, white, and blue hat, and that's how people recognized him. I was not looking for a car. Everybody knew him. He had spoken at a convention in Las Vegas and was just, everybody loved what he was great. So he comes to our ConvergeSouth thing with 200 or 300 blogger people, and here's what he said. Many people where I live are solopreneurs or small entrepreneurs. They don't work for big companies. They might be the only person working there and maybe have contract people. And he said, too often small businesses and individuals try to pretend that they're big companies and they talk about, we do this and our firm will do this. And he said, no, this is not what you do. His comment was, you are the brand, comma, stupid. You are the brand, stupid. Don't be afraid to say that's who you are. Because when I was looking for somebody's phone number, I knew his name. He's a bit of a brand. He's not the most famous, and he came right up on Google because he knew people knew him. And it didn't hide behind his company. He had his presence. You should do that. You should really take care of that. Okay, now we're going to talk about visual hierarchy. This is where the wine comes in. There are fundamentally 4 different ways to put a homepage together. There's a million, but there are fundamentally 4. The most common one is the one on the left. This is scale. You've got big moving down to small. The second one is contrast. Picture, big words. Or something, big words. In the olden days, or if you're a magazine or whatever, you're going to put something on the left. It could be a sidebar. Some sites need sidebars, especially sites that sell things. It's a kind of sidebar that lets you drill. It's like Amazon, where you can drill down. I want only 4 stars and under $25 or whatever. So a sidebar is necessary. And then the last one is position, where you start moving things left and right. Now, if you go back to the people read like a Z, this one is your Z has to be over here because your sidebar's over here. The complicated sites do that for sub navigation. Regular basic sites, your menu's up at the top, people look at your picture, and that's what they're looking at, and they'll scan the rest of your stuff. And like the kid said, I don't care if they read this. I don't care. It's there for Google. This is the only thing I want them to do. That's the main thing. So you've got these 4 concepts. These are the ones that don't fight for people's attentions. You should kind of think of these, I call it step back and squint. Look at your website with one of these on top of it. Does it fit any of those models? Now, is it right for everybody? No. But this is kind of the way people look at things. And you should, take a look at those kind of layouts and say, I should do that. And then this is the 5 principles, and this is the last slide in the show. Make sure everybody has easy access to your homepage. As I said, we will all email my daughter and tell her to get rid of that blue. It needs to be lighter. Use implicit links. Use your logo, obviously, to link to the homepage. I thought everybody knew that. And explicit links for home, they're encouraging people, do not get rid of the home link, because not everybody is under 35 and born in this generation. The second thing is you need to be recognizable. You need to stand out from other people. There should be something on your homepage that people remember. Communicate who you are and what you do. I think I said that 14 times, so I'm not going to say it again. There is your homepage is basically your elevator pitch. You've all got one. Use it. In the olden days, my elevator pitch took 3 minutes to try and explain to people what a website was. We build them, yada, yada. Now all I just say is we build fabulous websites. Everybody knows what a website is. So that should be, if that's your tagline, it should be on your homepage. There is some discussion that you should not put your logo anywhere except on the left. That's where people expect it. It's pretty in the middle, and I know the Orlando WordPress, your site has it. It's not distracting, but they're not really selling anything. And they said that people expect the logo on the left. Make sure your tagline's there, and use image that accurately reflect your brand. I love that comment in the chat. That's very funny. Okay, use examples. Examples go above the fold. What do? We do this kind of website. We specialize in nonprofit websites. We sell camping gear. Put examples above the fold. Guide users to scroll down with anchor links. They're not going to necessarily scroll down themselves, but if you use anchor links to move them down the page, there's one-page websites are just fine. They're extremely hard to get good SEO on. So you can send them down the page. That's fine, but have more than one page. Okay. Where should links go? Do not use read more, learn more, find out more. It's called high information sent. Your link should tell people where it's going. Don't, no more read more about Karen Green, or more about our wonderful camping products. And that's your link. High information. Avoid read more and learn more. Make it easy for people to buy what you're selling. Use simple designs that are recognizable. Don't get too weird. Visitors are used to certain layouts. Those are those visual designs we looked at. Minimize motion and animation, which entirely depends on your product, but for the most part, you limit it. Make it load fast. And then you've got a homepage, and you should know what goes above the fold. So if you want to reach me, I have the easiest email in the world. It's my first name at my last name. And that's a website, that's my phone, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Sue. Yes, thank you so much.